Welcome back to Briva Creative. Today we're making a clay extruder. Today I'm going to be using this caulk gun squirter thing, pump, whatever it's called, a piece of 1.5" PVC. I just got one of the little short guys available in your favorite orange store, and one of these caps with a little bit of a lip here. It's not a full cap, it's kind of like got a bit of a lip, and that'll help us hold in the different shapes that we will be using. So I'm just going to eyeball how long I need this to be, about the length of a caulk tube, just that something that will fit inside of your extruder. I just used a handheld hacksaw to chop through this. Super easy to get through, and unfortunately I overestimated how long it needed to be, so I needed to cut off about 1/4 to 1/2 inch in order to actually get this in here, and I got impatient and used a saw dangerously. Don't do this. But thankfully I survived. Next we're going to get into SketchUp and draw some fun shapes. I believe that we will be posting these files later online. If you're interested in that, check out our Etsy, and you can download these 3D print files and make your own. So these are just 3/16 of an inch tall, really simple extrusions, and I'm just kind of making shapes that I think will be useful for clay, circles for coil building, some fun shapes for fun purposes, and some handles that will probably be one of the more useful purposes of this extruder for me. And they turned out to be pretty quick prints, thankfully, doing them in our fabulous Briva green. And I was trying to get more on the plate, but our 3D printer likes to print towards the center, but doesn't like to print on the edges of the build plate, and that requires troubleshooting down the road, but for now, we're just printing 4 at a time. After a day or two of babysitting the 3D printer, we got a bunch of different shapes, probably more than I will ever use for clay, but it was fun, and now I have them in case I need them. So as you can see, I just place these on the end of that piece of PVC and stick that cap over the edge, and then it just fits right into your caulk gun fairly easily. And next you just load it up with some clay. Go for softer clay, it's easier to squirt out of the tube. I didn't roll it into perfect circles or anything, I just kind of squeezed it into shape as you saw, and it worked pretty well. So I tried it without the flange cap thing first just to see if it would work, because I liked how it fit in the caulk gun a little better, but as you can see it kind of squirted out the edge, so you definitely need the cap, and it actually works fine. Like, the plunger and everything goes all the way to the bottom, even though the thing is a little off kilter there. The only thing to be aware of is when you're designing the kind of 3D print shapes, is it's got to be wide enough to stick through the end of that caulk gun opening, unless you were to cut a larger opening in the end of the caulk gun to allow for the full area to be used. But again, for everything that I created, this is plenty of space, and since it's centered, it doesn't even matter. So these are just a couple of the shapes that we came up with. Again, check out our Etsy for those. We will get those posted here pretty soon. And if you want to support us and see more of this sort of content, definitely drop us a like, subscribe, comment, etc. below. I am using a raku clay with a lot of grog in it for these extrusions, so that's why it's coming out a little grainy, but if you have a smoother bodied clay, it will definitely come out a bit smoother for you. Just depends on what your clay is. So my first idea was to just make a coil built pot with this stuff, so I'm just using the 1/2 inch coil here, or 1/2 inch circle I suppose, to extrude a bunch of clay, and I'll just put it under a wet rag and then use it to make a little coil pot. I'm just going to roll out a bottom for that, and just a side note, I am not an expert in coil building. I have not done it in absolutely years, so This might come out a bit rough, but I'm just compressing the bottom of that pot and using a circle that was nearby for the base, just kind of to get myself a nice little happy circle. And I'm just going to go over that, compress it again, make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom of my work surface, and then I'm going to scratch and slip and connect all of these coils one by one and just kind of coil my way up into a sort of pot. I'm just using a needle tool to do the cross hatching, the scoring. If you're unfamiliar with clay, you have to do this when you're binding essentially any two pieces of clay together. It helps to prevent the two pieces from cracking apart. Not fully clear on the science, but you definitely want to do that when connecting any two pieces of clay almost ever. Unless it's kneaded together, it needs to be slipped and scratched and scored together, or else it will very likely crack apart either when drying or later on when you are firing it in the kiln. So I'm just kind of working my way around, and as I kind of layer on each coil, I rub down each side using either my finger or this nice little wooden tool that's super handy. Helps me get at some of the angles that are a little more difficult for my fingers. Later, I will be firing this probably in the next video, but I will be firing it in this raku kiln that I built. Check out the link above for that. And definitely subscribe and come back in a couple of weeks for me firing this pot along with some others. I don't have the capacity on my house to fire electrically because you need a big 240 power, and we don't have that here, so I built my own kind of gas-powered kiln out of a barrel, and that was a whole lot of fun, so definitely go check that video out. Now I'm just cleaning up the sides and edges of this pot, adding all of the slip and whatnot. Really made this clay really soppy and wet, so I'm just going to let it dry a bit before I do any more cleaning and trimming. Like, subscribe, comment if you enjoyed this video, and definitely subscribe if you want to see me fire this pot in our next video. Thanks for watching. Bye!